Hello, this is Eileen, the environmental educator. In this video, we're going to talk about Finland has come up with a solution for nuclear waste and that they're going to put it inside of a 1,500 foot deep underground tunnel that will soon be shut off to humans for 100,000 years. This was a December 2nd, 2024 article. Here's a December 3rd, 2024 article. Basically the same thing, closed to humans for 100,000 years. That's what they're deeming as safe nuclear waste sites. This was first reported back in 2023. This is June 13th, when there was articles about how they plan to bury their spent nuclear fuel. And then in August of 2024, there was another article, what they're calling a geological tomb that's built to last 100,000 years. And this is what we're going to do with our spent nuclear fuel. They say this pioneering project has been hailed as both a watershed moment for the long-term sustainability of the nuclear energy and a model for the entire world. I am not for nuclear energy if you've been around here before, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong with it, like meltdowns when there's a grid down. When there's a grid down, which people say is coming at some point, even if it's a, solar event, nuclear power plants will melt down. And then that waste, that radioactivity isn't going to be buried deep underground. But right now they're calling this a solution for the rest of the world to follow. They say that nuclear energy currently provides about 9% of the world's electricity, according to the World Nuclear Association. So that's not substantial, but where we could come up with 9% of the world's energy simply by gaining individual cooperation and turning off 40% of unused electricity. Right there. We still have 31% to spare. And we wouldn't even need to be talking about nuclear energy if we just started living responsibly. But instead, the talk about more and more nuclear facilities is happening every day. Trump is talking about it. So the world is now looking at Finland as a leader here. This facility is approximately 240 kilometers from the capital of Helsinki. And right now they say that the IAEA, which is the International Atomic Energy Agency, they estimate that there's around 260,000 tons of spent nuclear fuel in interim storage across the world as of 2016. Now we're basically a good 8 years, going on 9 years past that. They say about 70% of the world's spent fuel is in storage ponds, with the rest in concrete and steel containers called dry caskets. And those are just sitting with nowhere to go, essentially, because no one wants nuclear waste. But this new facility, they say, will hold about 5,500 tons of waste. So it will take all the high-level nuclear waste produced by Finland's 5 nuclear power plants in their entire life cycles. So right now, this is being hailed as a solution. It's taking in 5,500 tons of waste, yet there's 260,000 tons of spent nuclear fuel as of 2016. So if this is going to be enacted worldwide, there's a lot of places that have a lot of work to catch up on. This comes at a pretty serious price. It's 860 million euros is what this has cost Finland. So disposing of our waste, our disposable product waste is expensive, and disposing of our nuclear waste is very expensive too. but around 4,000 generations of humans will be unable to set foot in the underground tunnel on the west coast of Finland for 100,000 years. That's 4,000 generations of humans will not be allowed to go anywhere near this nuclear waste. It's going to be sealed in. The country has built the first ever tomb for spent nuclear fuel. It's called a model for the entire world when it comes to sustainable storage of nuclear energy. Well, it's still untested, but they think because it's so far beneath underground and it will be deposited in deep bedrock that it's going to be safe. And it's going to start being sealed off to humans in 2025. So this whole place is just going to get sealed off and no one will be able to go near it for 100,000 years. There's a journalist, Erica Benke, Benke, who walked around the underground tunnel, detailed her tour of the site, admitting that the idea of burying highly radioactive waste for 100,000 years makes her nervous. She said that, "I felt a moment of dread. I'm standing at a spot where starting in 2025, no human should set foot for 100,000 years." She went down into this tunnel facility. It takes 15 minutes for the group to descend to the bedrock, 1,430 feet below ground. And here's a picture of the facility, the tunnels underneath it. There's a ventilation shaft, so who knows what fumes are going to be ventilating out of here? I'm not sure, but there, a bunch of tunnels and whatnot. They say the spent nuclear waste will be placed inside a cast iron and copper cylinder and then wrapped in bentonite clay to enclose the sealed canister. There is then a tunnel which backfills the gaps with swellable clay, seal structures to close off the tunnels and the surrounding areas, as well as enclosing rock. So each canister will be picked up by robotic vehicles and taken to the deposition holes where they will remain forever, or at least 100,000 years. And they say that the project has reportedly inspired other countries, including the UK, US, France, and Canada, to take on similar solutions to nuclear energy storage. Other people are, of course, looking to follow this lead because they say that Finland is at least a decade ahead of everybody else. Okay, but we're still essentially decades behind in terms of what to do with this nuclear waste, because now we're just burying it, and they say that, oh, nothing can go wrong with this nuclear site. And we can just listen to a video here about this site.
It's a brief elevator ride, almost half a kilometre underground, into the depths of Onkalo, where for the first time anywhere in the world, highly radioactive nuclear waste will be permanently stored. These tunnels span more than 50 kilometres.
Our depth at the moment is about 430 meters.
Eventually they'll hold 6,500 tonnes of spent uranium, all the waste Finland's 5 reactors will ever produce. It takes hundreds of thousands of years for radioactive waste to safely decay. And this underground tomb is the final resting place for Finland's spent nuclear fuel. The bedrock here is almost 2 billion years old, and geologists think it's ideal for a nuclear graveyard.
Olkiluoto and the whole western Finland is located in a really stable, geologically stable area. We have hardly any earthquakes, and the groundwater conditions are good for our concept.
In a final disposal facility,
Remote-controlled machines will do the work, slotting 5-metre copper canisters into holes in the rock, before it's sealed off with clay and a thick concrete plug. Most radioactive waste is temporarily stored in pools above ground, and worldwide around 260,000 tonnes are piling up.
So there you have it. That is the latest and greatest idea of what to do with spent nuclear waste, and hopefully it will work, but we're going to need a lot more of these sites around the world just for the waste that's already sitting there at a cost of at least hundreds of millions of dollars, 860 million euros for this one. So any future sites will of course cost more and more and more, and maybe we should just start figuring out, it's not even hard to figure out how to just live responsibly and not demand all of this electricity so that we don't have all of this waste and all of these nuclear issues going around. But right now, this is what the world's looking at, people. Stay tuned.